Welcome back. Today, we're stripping away the glossy screen to look at the plumbing of the AV world. We've pulled the technical specifications and data sheets for the Kramer TP-873XR. It's a 4K HDR HDMI transmitter.
Right.
And the mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We're looking at how professional integrators solve the digital cliff problem. Moving high bandwidth video and audio over long distances without the signal just falling apart.
Yeah, it's the classic installer headache. You have this
Mhm.
pristine 4K source and a high-end display
Yeah.
and maybe 50 feet of distance between them.
Which is a lot.
It is a lot for standard copper HDMI cable. They just can't handle that bandwidth over distance. The resistance builds up and then poof, you get sparkles or just a black screen.
Right, because the physics of copper wire hasn't changed, even if our resolutions have. So that's where this Kramer unit steps in. It's using DGKat 2.0 technology to convert that HDMI signal and push it over twisted pair cabling, like standard shielded Cat6 stuff.
Exactly. But we aren't talking about standard HDBaseT here.
Right.
DGKat 2.0 is Kramer's proprietary spin. The real differentiator here is the compression algorithm. We usually see a trade-off where you want distance, so you lose quality.
Yeah, you compress the life out of it.
Exactly. But this tech claims visually lossless performance specifically for 4K at 60 Hertz, which is huge.
And that visually lossless claim is bold when you look at the chroma sampling. The spec sheet lists 4.4.4 support.
Right.
For those of you who have tried to push full color bandwidth over a network cable, that is usually the first thing to get chopped down to 4.2.0 to save space.
That is the big aha moment with this device. It manages to retain that full 4.4.4 color space. So every pixel keeps its unique color data while keeping latency near zero.
It's doing all that heavy lifting without the typical artifacts. Now, in terms of distance, the documentation says we're looking at 50 meters.
So roughly 160 feet.
Right, for that full 4K 60 hertz signal.
Which covers almost any standard residential install. Or a medium-sized conference room. If you drop the frame rate to 30 hertz, you can stretch that run to 70 meters.
But frankly, if you are installing this today, you want that 60 hertz overhead for HDR content.
Oh, absolutely. But let's look at the integration side. It's not just video moving down that twisted pair cable.
It is effectively a multi-lane highway. You have the audio support, which handles up to 32 channels of uncompressed digital stereo.
So Dolby True HD and DTS HD pass right through. That is crucial for home theater setups where the rack is sitting in a closet. You cannot afford to lose the audio metadata before it hits the processor.
And then there is the control layer. The unit supports bidirectional RS-232 and IR extension.
Which is a huge deal for automation systems. It means your control processor can sit in the rack and send commands through this transmitter.
And control the TV on the wall 150 feet away without running a separate control wire.
It completely simplifies the infrastructure. You are running one cable for everything, and that one cable philosophy extends to power as well. The TP-873XR supports two-way power over cable, or PC.
Which is standard for Pro gear, but always appreciated. It means you don't need to find a spare outlet behind the wall-mounted TV to power the receiver.
Precisely. The transmitter in the rack can power the receiver at the display, or vice versa. It is all about reducing points of failure and clutter.
If you have ever tried to zip tie a power brick behind a slim OLED mount, you know exactly why PoC matters.
Yep. Let's touch on the hardware build itself, the DigiTools enclosure. It is aluminum and fanless.
I assume the lack of a fan is a nod to the Knowles floor.
And reliability. Fans are mechanical, so they accumulate dust and eventually fail. In a quiet boardroom or a high-end home cinema, you just can't have a whine coming from the equipment.
The aluminum acts as a passive heatsink. It is a set-it-and-forget-it design. Looking at the market context, HDTV Supply has this listed around $248, down from over $300.
For a device that handles HDCP 2.2 and full 4K HDR, that puts it in a really interesting spot.
It is accessible enough for a serious DIY enthusiast, but built for the commercial trade.
It really bridges that gap. It is arguably overkill for a basic setup, but if you care about signal integrity, it is a cheap insurance policy compared to the cost of the display.
So what does this all mean for you? Devices like the TP-873XR are the unsung heroes of the AV world. We obsess over the screen, but the extender is what actually makes the architecture possible.
They allow us to hide the technology and just enjoy the content.
Here's where it gets really interesting for the future, though. We are fine with 4K over copper now. But as we start seeing 8K displays with quadruple the bandwidth requirements, you have to wonder, are we approaching the hard physical limit of twisted pair copper?
That is the big question. Can compression algorithms like DGKat continue to outsmart the physics of wire resistance? Or is the next deep dive going to be about why we all had to switch to fiber optics?
Definitely something to think about before you run that next cable in your walls. Thanks for exploring the signal path with us. We will catch you on the next deep dive.